I don't want to get too big. This is something you hear all the time from guys who join the gym. Women too, women too. And the women one is the funniest. But you see that from guys all the time. They'll say things like, well, I want to train, but I don't want to get too big. Now, we could make jokes about it, and you'll oftentimes see even some fit pros will say stuff like, well, that's like saying I want to learn to play golf but not be as good as Tiger Woods. Well, because having a skill is not the same as looking a certain way full time. So I hate that analogy. But we have to be realistic about it. And everyone who has trained for years laughs and laughs and laughs when someone says that. And they're well meaning, but it comes down to people just simply being ignorant. And the problem is that when someone tries to actually get big, that they realize that this is not something that is as easy as they think it's going to be. In fact, what a lot of the guys think of as being too big is generally something unobtainable without hefty doses of drugs. Okay, it's not obtained by weightlifting, and there's this interesting phenomenon due to the internet these days to where people online don't know how to even assess how big someone actually is. That's one of the problems too. There's a lot of guys out there that a lot of people looking who are new say, oh, that guy's really, really big on camera or in a photo shoot. But if you meet them in person, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how oftentimes when wearing a shirt, that guy just looks like a regular guy. Okay? Why do you think that is? Well, usually it's because number one, they're really, really lean in proportion to a certain way. And so you're looking at the guy thinking, man, that guy's 200 pounds. When in reality, they're 160 pounds. Now, anyone who is not even new to lifting, that should be something in their head should click at that moment. The guy is 160 pounds, 170 pounds. That's not that big. No matter how lean you are, what your body composition is, that's not big. It's not big at all. And oftentimes you find out that the guy you're looking at is pretty short. So you might see a guy who is 5'6", 170 pounds, really lean, pretty lean, or 160 really lean, and you're thinking he's a big dude until you meet him at an event. And then you realize, wow, he's not even that big. Just how they look on camera. And I think that's the thing that people need to remember, who are even wanting a certain look or anything else. All right, so when you see someone by themselves on camera who has a certain look, or they've dieted and adjusted their water weight for a specific photo shoot, or their one shirtless video they do every 3 months, okay, that's not how they look all the time. Number two, again, you don't have proportions. You don't have proportions to see how big they actually are. And there's a big difference between looking big on camera and looking big in person. And people who are less experienced, people who usually only have a couple of years of training experience and they haven't been around the serious lifting world for years and years, they don't know how to tell those two apart just looking at a camera. They have no clue. But here's what I would say to you. Unless you plan on being internet famous, right, looking big on a camera is irrelevant. Because everyone who sees you in the real world, the people who see you at the gym, the people who see you walking down the street, the people you work with, they're only going to know how big you look in person. And the overwhelming majority of the time, they're only going to know how big you look when you're wearing clothes. And maybe a tank top, because most gyms don't allow you to train shirtless. Okay? A lot of times the guys who you think of as looking too big, they look like normal guys in clothes with maybe a little bit of trap and maybe a little bit of bicep poking out of their shirt. And they're actually not big at all. Guys who are really big, they can throw on an extra large t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants and you're going to notice when they walk by. They're going to be big. But those guys are never under 200 pounds. Because if they are, they're really short and they still don't look big. Okay, it is almost impossible for a shorter guy who looks massive on a bodybuilding stage to look as big as you think they're going to look when you meet them in person. They just don't. right? I've met Kai Green in person. He was so short that he didn't look that big to me. He looked a little wide in clothing, but he didn't look that big. He didn't look like you think he would look based upon what you see on a bodybuilding stage. Like, I was surprised. I couldn't even believe that he supposedly weighs what he did. He was definitely shorter than he claims. Like, he's not 5'7". There's no way. The dude is like 5'4", maybe 5'5", tops. So, people have these ideas about it, but let's come over to the point of actually getting big. I mean, how much work do you think it takes to get big? I mean, guys who say, well, I don't want to get big. Well, are you even going to be able to eat enough to get big? Right? You don't just get big because you lifted weights for a little while. Right? As you start to train, you're going to find sometimes if you don't actually gain weight really easily, you might start losing weight when you start lifting. You'll gain muscle, but unless your appetite goes up accordingly, you might start losing weight because you might have a maintenance calories of 2,200 right now. Then you start lifting, and before long, your maintenance is up at 2,900, 3,000. Okay. I have clients who need 3,000 calories a day to gain weight who weigh 140 pounds right now, 150. All right. I have multiple clients who need 4,000 calories a day to gain weight who weigh less than 200 pounds. 4,000 calories every day. That's not just, oh, I eat a big meal every now and then. No, you got to do that every day. And these are not guys trying to get fat. They're not fat. Okay? How about relatively lean guys? It's just they train a lot. They're active. Like, how much food do you think you're going to have to eat to get big? And again, there's a difference between quality food and eating a bunch of junk food too. So you guys who are like, oh, I don't want to, I'm worried about getting big. I'm scared of it. It's like, first of all, even get to the body weight when you're actually training hard and your calorie intake goes up. A lot of you guys, if you're walking around at 150 pounds right now, you don't know how to eat. You've never eaten. There's no way that you could weigh 150 pounds as a grown man who has any appreciable appetite. It's not even remotely imaginable. You do not eat. That's why you're 150. You're going to struggle to get to 200 pounds, especially if you're eating quality food, not just junk food. Best of luck to you. You're not even going to eat the food, let alone do the training. Same thing with the training. Like, how much muscle do you guys really think you're going to gain? I have never met in my entire life, and I've been in the iron game a long time. I'm 43. I've been in the iron game a long time. I have never met a drug-free guy with less than 5 years of hard training who I thought was even reasonably big. Not big, but just, pretty good size, right? Pretty good size. Like you said, yeah, that dude's pretty jacked for a natty. But notice we say for a natural guy. He's jacked for a natural guy. At least 5 years. Okay? There is no way you're going to walk into a gym and get big, and I mean even big by drug-free standards, completely natural, in 2 years. It is not going to happen. So these guys who say the things like, well, I don't want to get too big, we already know you're not going to get big. We already know you're lazy. Okay? Like, you don't need to tell people that, and it sounds silly, because what it does is that it makes it sound like guys who got really big, they just got there by accident or overnight. And it's quite comical because people have that mindset until they decide they want to get really big, and then they realize, oh my God, if I want to get big, I'm going to have to do this for years. They're going to have to get in and train consistently and hard for the next 5 years. None of this, oh, I'm going to take a month off from the gym because I'm having a bad month. I'm stressed from work. I'm stressed from a breakup. Family member died. Oh, I'm going to have to take a month off from the gym. Okay? People who do that don't ever get anywhere. People who start missing workouts because they're having a bad day, they don't get big. They don't get big. So this whole thing, when someone says, "Oh, I don't want to get too big," it's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. You're not going to get big. To be honest, most of you guys who what you think of as big is probably unobtainable for you. So you don't need to tell people that. That's literally as silly as saying, well, it is silly like the thing is saying. It's like thinking that you could accidentally get as good as Tiger Woods at golf because you take your first golf lesson and you go play golf once a week on Saturday, one round. Okay, it's not going to happen. And it's ludicrous to even imply and tell people that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.